A woman in prehistory could go months, even years, without a period and still be healthy by the standards of her own reproductive life. The reason was not a secret herb, a ritual, or a primitive cure. Her reproductive calendar was dominated by pregnancy, frequent nursing, physical work, and the energy cost of keeping herself and a child alive. So did ancient women actually have periods every month? Often, probably not, and the first answer is surprisingly simple. Many potential cycles were paused naturally by pregnancy and infant feeding. But we must begin with a limit. Menstrual calendars do not fossilize. Bones can reveal clues about age, injury, movement, and diet, but they preserve no reliable monthly record of bleeding or ovulation. Everything here is therefore a careful reconstruction from human reproductive physiology and well-studied natural fertility populations observed by anthropologists. Those communities are modern, changing societies, not living fossils. They simply help reveal biological mechanisms that archaeology cannot preserve directly. First, ancient women possessed the same basic reproductive system that modern humans inherited. During an ovulatory cycle, changing hormones prepare a blood-rich uterine lining before any embryo has attached to the uterus. If pregnancy does not begin and continue, progesterone falls, tiny blood vessels change, and part of that prepared tissue is shed. That shedding is menstruation. It is not dirty blood or a monthly cleansing. Scientists increasingly view the bleeding as a consequence of how the human uterus prepares in advance for unusually deep and demanding implantation. So the biological machinery was ancient. What changed dramatically was how often it completed an empty cycle. Imagine a young forager reaching reproductive maturity later than many well-nourished girls do today. Her timing could vary widely with inherited biology, childhood health, food supply, disease burden, daily workload, and the ecology around her. Once ovulation began, a pregnancy could remove roughly 9 months of menstrual cycles at once. After birth, menstruation might not return quickly, especially while a baby nursed frequently. Repeated suckling sends signals through the mother's brain, changing the chain of reproductive hormones that would normally restart ovarian activity and ovulation. This is called lactational amenorrhea, the absence of menstruation associated with breastfeeding. Among studied cone mothers, nursing happened in short, frequent bouts throughout the day. Researchers linked that intense nursing pattern with suppressed ovarian hormones, delayed return of fertility, and unusually long spaces between surviving births. For a mobile mother, that spacing mattered far beyond fertility. She carried a growing child, gathered and processed food, moved camp, maintained body heat, and produced milk from the same limited energy budget. A new pregnancy arriving too soon could intensify nutritional and physical costs for her, the child still nursing, and the developing unborn baby. Breastfeeding was not perfect birth control. Ovulation can return before the first visible period, but frequent nursing often lengthened and the interval when regular cycling was absent. Then add another powerful variable: food energy. Human reproduction is expensive, and the body responds when available energy falls to low. Modern physiological studies show that chronic low energy availability can disturb ovarian hormones, prevent ovulation, make cycles irregular, or stop menstruation entirely. Prehistoric food was not always scarce, and foragers were not permanently starving. But drought, lean seasons, digestive illness, infection, heavy travel, cold weather, or the extra demands of nursing could create severe energetic pressure. Under those conditions, cycles might become irregular or disappear without any deliberate action. This was not a helpful on-off switch. Lost cycles could signal that the body was under strain. Combine later maturity, pregnancy, years of nursing, and occasional energy stress. The combined result could be a reproductive life containing long blocks of time without ovulation, menstruation, or any predictable monthly rhythm. Anthropologist Beverly Strassman measured this pattern among Dogon women in a natural fertility population. In that study, pregnancy and postpartum amenorrhea occupied much of the reproductive span, sharply reducing the number of observed lifetime menses. That does not give us a Paleolithic number. It demonstrates what human biology can produce without modern contraception. It also explains why every month is the wrong default picture. Some ancient women certainly menstruated repeatedly between pregnancies, after a child was weaned, after infertility, or when they experienced fewer successful births. Others may have experienced long pauses from nursing, pregnancy loss, illness, or low energy. There was never one universal ancient female schedule. And what did they use when bleeding occurred? Archaeology becomes almost silent. Soft plant fibers, absorbent moss, prepared hides, woven cloth, or simply free bleeding are all plausible possibilities in different environments, periods, and cultures. The perishable materials rarely survive, so presenting one solution as standard would be invention. The same caution applies to taboos, privacy, lunar calendars, and menstrual rituals. Recorded societies show enormous variation in belief, seclusion, work, and care. Not a single universal menstrual rule carried unchanged from deep prehistory. The strongest story is therefore not about a missing prehistoric pad. It is about a body balancing reproduction against milk production, movement, infection, weather, and food. For many women today, hundreds of cycles across a lifetime can seem biologically inevitable. Yet frequent monthly cycling across a lifetime depends partly on fewer pregnancies, shorter or less intensive nursing, reliable calories, and longer uninterrupted reproductive spans. Ancient women did menstruate. Their uteruses were not fundamentally different from ours. What differed was the rhythm surrounding that biology. Pregnancy stopped the cycling clock. Frequent nursing often delayed its hormonal restart. Illness or energy shortage could then interrupt the rhythm again. So the most accurate answer is not never, and it is not every month. It is a changing pattern shaped by motherhood, ecology, health, and chance. The familiar monthly calendar is only one version of the human reproductive story.